Scanning for audio.
Welcome once again to a Tin Dog podcast. Today I'll be reviewing two separate things. The Nightmare Man, which is the first of the Sarah Jane Smith adventures from the current season, which is Series 4, and also the Matt Smith boxed set. Now, as the Sarah Jane Smith Adventures review will contain spoilers, I'm going to talk about the box set first. The reviews of individual stories can be found on the Tin Dog podcast feed, as I'm sure you already know. And, of course, you may have taped them off the TV. And by taped, of course, I mean burned, recorded, gathered, whatever you want to call it. Also, the chances are you managed to track down all of the full-length confidentials. So why buy this box set when, of course, you may already, own everything? After all, it's not the cheapest of box sets, recommended retail price coming in at £70, and that's before the 2010 VAT increase. The reasons to own this particular box set are twofold. One, as always, commentaries, of which more about that in a moment. And two, there are two specially filmed inserts, basically what happened when the camera wasn't on the TARDIS. Now, I'm not talking behind the scenes stuff, although that is here, as well as an outtake section, which is admittedly quite funny. No. What I mean is, the equivalent of TARDIS-odes that we saw in the 2005 season. Small, 3 4-minute-long excerpts of what happened in between stories, the first of which is what happens between the 11th hour and the Beast Below, basically how Amy ends up being outside of the TARDIS, floating in space. It's a very nice story, and one that puts things into a lot of perspective. However, the second and more important of these mini-episodes is the one that takes place immediately before Rory's stag do and immediately after the really dodgy events involving Amy kissing the Doctor. On screen it actually looks like a lot of backpedaling going on. Amy starting to wonder how many of the Doctor's companions are female, and we get to see, nice stills from the old series of practically every companion they've had, which happens to be female, which practically means every single companion, with the exception of a Tin Dog or two, a Harry, a Turlo and an Adric. Yes, Stephen's in there as well, and so is Jamie, but you know what I mean. They all appear on the screen, and Amy begins to question her particular place in all this. It doesn't exactly strike me as apologetic for the actions that immediately preceded, but it does help make sense of the Doctor's character in the old season sense. Now, as I've said, this disc, like the others, usually contains confidentials, but it has the cut-down version with a lot of the padding removed, as well as, of course, the outtake section. The only other reason to have this is, of course, the commentaries. Now, this is where it differs from earlier years. In this box set, we have in-vision commentaries. Now, I gave a lot of thought after my rant last time about why in-vision commentaries are so important. Now, if you happen to fancy the actress who plays Amy Pond, or indeed any of the cast, or if you're a particular Doctor Who fan, if you happen to fancy or just like to look at any of the production crew, then seeing people doing their commentary is a reasonable thing. Matt Smith is not on any of these. Why? Is it contractual? Is it something dubious? Is he separating himself off from the fans? No. It's quite obvious that he was just stuck on the other side of the world while the ash cloud was up there. Of course, in these days of internet access, I'm sure if it was just an audio commentary, they could have set some sort of, recording up somewhere else in the world and had him present, virtually, for a nice commentary. But of course, with it being in vision, they couldn't do that. I just can't figure out why. Because with the in-vision stuff, it does take up a lot more space on the disc, which in turn leads to the fact that there are several commentaries missing. There isn't a commentary at all on Vincent and the Doctor. There isn't one on the Lodger. These are stories that I actually would have liked to experience a commentary on. One of the commentaries that is worth examining, however, takes place during Victory of the Daleks. Now, I know this has split many a fan. It's actually split many an individual fan over their opinion at the beginning and their opinion after a few months. But the thing that comes back every time with Victory of the Daleks is the new Dalek design. And Mr. Briggs, voice of the Daleks, is present with Mark Gatiss and actually asks Mark about the new Dalek design and the way it's been received by fans. It's quite telling and almost worth the price of admission on its own. So yes, you'll probably buy it because you've been hanging on. But I do suspect that when the Blu-ray box finally comes out in a few years' time of a definitive box set, there'll be Matt Smith commentaries, and they'll be there for every single episode. So enough about that. Let's talk about The Nightmare Man. Doctor Who magazine said that episodes 1 and 2 were going to be on Monday and Tuesday on the CBBC channel. That's not the Canadian broadcasting one, no, that's the children's BBC channel. This is one of the channels with the lovely dancing logos in the corner, and we've all experienced my rants about that in the past, so I won't bother going over old territory. Suffice to say that I would much rather watch it on the repeat, of which Doctor Who magazine said would be Thursday and Friday, the reality of which, of course, was in fact Wednesday and Thursday, meaning that I missed the repeat of the first episode. So on my hard drive burner, I've got episode 1 with a dancing logo. These are small gripes, but something that I will, of course, be going on and on and on about just to annoy everyone. I've fixed that, and so I will be recording tonight episode 2 of Story 2 and watching them both back to back. I tend to do that because I'd rather get the whole story, well, not over with, but experience it in one go, because collectively they do come in as one 45-minute story, just like one episode of New Doctor Who. So when it comes down to it, was it worth it? Well, the Sarah Jane Smith adventures are the last bastion of old Doctor Who fans. They have more references to the old series than any other incarnation of Doctor Who. We know for a fact that this series is going to contain Jo Jones, or rather the previous Miss Jo Grant. Sarah Jane and her beloved Tin Dog have been around since Series 1. But this programme is also prone to reinventing itself. With it having a fairly young cast, it does have cast members leaving, coming back, popping up, just to reinforce the fact that this is the Sarah Jane Smith adventures, not K9 and Company, no matter how much I want that. One character that I never thought would leave this series, and of course he will be back, this isn't Buffy after all, was her son, Luke. You just didn't think this character would leave. But this episode, this story, really tries to press that reset button just a little bit too hard. Yes, let's focus on Luke. Let's make him pass his A-levels in the first 6 minutes. Let's move him on to Oxford, not saying what he's going to study. Although it would be fantastic to see a Lewis / Morse / K9 and Company spin-off. Because Luke goes off at the end of this episode to Oxford, taking K9 with him, thus making sure that it is only the Sarah Jane Smith adventures with some other people. And that's it. Yeah, she's got the Zylock, but as he's usually off hosting Pointless on BBC Two, or his own little spin-off comedy shows, we can let that go. K9 will be missed. I was not impressed when he drove off into the sunset, saying, "See you at Christmas." But enough of my gripes. The story itself, very good. It did seem to fit in with the Torchwood episode, which had Julian Bleach in that. The dream characters coming through into reality and taking over. It did feel like a retreading of old stories, but as not a lot of the target audience for Sarah Jane Smith had seen Torchwood, I can kind of let that off. In many respects, of course, this was actually better acted and better executed. It's always very tempting to take dream sequences and do quirky and odd things with them, but the worst nightmares are the ones that feel real, and that worked superbly here. This story is well worth tracking down and watching, don't get me wrong, and as an introduction for the new series with an almost reset button, well, I can let it off. I am aware that the K9 prop is bulky and annoying, and that the K9 character solves things far too fast. That's why as a kid we loved him, and that's why as an adult I can see sense to him not being there. So I'm off now to think about watching the next Sarah Jane Smith, and also to listen to some lovely Big Finish, which I'll talk about next time. So until then, be seeing you. Before I go, I just want to say that after the credits, there'll be a lovely interview with Matt Smith that was on Channel 5 last week. Enjoy.
Interface communication incoming.
For the first time in its 4-year history, the Tin Dog Podcast is proud to announce a competition. Yes, I'm giving away the new Michael Moorcock book. Not only is it the new Michael Moorcock book, but actually it's signed by the man himself, and all thanks to ForbiddenPlanet.com. The Coming of the Terraphiles is one of the most eagerly anticipated Doctor Who novels for a very long time. For those of you unfamiliar with Michael Moorcock's work, he's a science fiction giant. It just goes to show the sort of credibility that Doctor Who nowadays has. Anyway, enough about that. On with the competition. It's a multiple choice, and I'm sure you'll be able to find the answer on Wikipedia, if you don't know it off the top of your head. The competition is this. Michael Moorcock wrote about what sort of champion. Was it A, an eternal champion, B, an endless champion, or C, an immortal champion? Send your name and address, together with the answer, obviously, to the usual address. That's tin-dog@hotmail.co.uk. The closing date for this competition is the 31st of October 2010, because by then Michael Moorcock will have been to Forbidden Planet in London and signed copies in order to send them to us. And then on to you. You know you want it. It's signed after all. Good luck. You have been listening to the Tin Dog Podcast. Doctor Who and its associated shows are all trademark of the BBC. No infringement is intended. Contact us at tin-dog@hotmail.co.uk.
Matt, lovely to meet you.
Minnie, nice dress.
Do you like the dress?
I love the dress.
It's a little bit clubbing kind of vibe.
Is it?
You think?
I think you've got a bit of kind of 70s chic going on. It's nice.
Winning?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Now, do we call you the Doctor, or is that weird?
Hey, call me whatever you want.
Is it the coolest job in the world, then, being Doctor Who? I can imagine as a guy, it must be, like, amazing.
I think it is. Well, I mean, for me, I guess it depends on your taste, doesn't it? But James Bond, Doctor Who, is anyone winner?
It's up there. Would you play James Bond?
I'd rather play Doctor Who.
Really?
Or the Doctor, as he's rightly called. Yeah, because he's
call him.
Clever.
Yeah, that's true. He's got a lot of chat.
He's
I like
got
that.
a lot of chat, yeah.
Now, we're here because there's the live tour.
We are, in Wembley Arena, no less.
Very exciting. There's a Dalek.
There's a Dalek behind us.
Hanging around there.
The uber enemy.
Look at him.
I know, right?
It's kind of creepy in some ways.
Yeah.
Tell us about the tour then. You describe it as kind of explosions and monsters.
Yeah, the monsters are coming. I mean, it's a big fantastical extravaganza. There's an sort of mad intergalactic curator of baddies who's trying to take over the world.
Trouble. Oh.
I'm going to ask you about Karen, because you get on famously well with your lovely assistant.
Yeah.
You rate her as a 10.
Yeah.
Which I like, by the way. That
Well, you know, I mean, she fluctuates, don't get me
Does
wrong.
she?
Yeah. Sometimes she throws in a 7.
Oh, really?
Sometimes she'll wake up looking like a 4. I mean,
yeah.
who knows?
Without any makeup, what is she?
Oh, Karen's always a 10.
She's always a 10.
I mean, a 10 is the whole package.
Now, apparently you rate yourself as an 8.
But I think that was
I know this is very
performance
cheap enough to be
terms,
rating people,
Yeah.
but I love this kind of stuff.
Okay, yeah. I mean, do I rate myself? I mean, I fluctuate and vary. Sometimes I'm a 4.
It depends.
I've hit the 2s.
Apparently you'd quite like Florence the Machine to have it, or Florence Welch rather, to have a cameo role.
I think Florence would be a good actress.
Yeah. Are you mates with her?
I am.
Are you? What, have you kind of floated the idea with her?
I might have.
Is this going to happen? Is that a Doctor Who exclusive right here, right now?
Watch this space.
Really?
Who knows?
Okay.
I mean, I'd like it to. I think she'd be great in Doctor Who, but then I think a lot of people would be really good. I think Dizzy Rascal would be really good in Doctor Who.
He'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Can you
Dizzy.
MC? Can you rap?
Not like Dizzy.
No, not to that level.
No.
Echoes. Fossils in time, the footprints of the never were.
So you brought tweed to the Doctor Who role, and
Yeah.
also the bow tie.
I know, the bow
The
tie's
geek
rocking.
chic is all over the catwalk, and you've brought it to the mainstream as well.
Yeah, I was really into the bow tie, and yeah, I love it.
Is
And now
you
it's...
saying to the producers, then, I want to, put this on the roll, these kind of trends?
Well, we had a discussion about it, and I I had some braces and I had the tweed on, I had the boots on and the jeans, and I sort of said, there's something missing. Can I try a bow tie? And everyone went, oh, God, no, really? And then I came back and tried it on, they loved it.
Now, I don't want to embarrass you, but
Okay.
you know you've really made it when you have
What's this?
your own doll.
Oh, wow, I know,
Oh,
that's cool,
hello,
isn't it?
look at these bad boys.
Yeah, so that's...
It's very exciting. You can have kind of scruffy for Fresca.
Oh, thanks.
Have they done you justice? You can be honest.
Well, I mean, what do you think? Does it bear a likeness?
I think it does. Good cheekbones.
Oh, thanks.
We've got the sonic screwdriver.
Wow, you got
which
something
is
there.
actually a bit like a glow stick, I was thinking. So do you think we could have maybe Doctor Who?
Oh no, the
Clubbing
Sonic's not.
Doctor Who.
No way, that's
Come
not
on.
a. You can't say the Sonic's a glow stick.
It's
That's
a glow
Sonic's.
stick. Look at that.
No way, dude.
Have I
that's
offended all Doctor Who fans?
Yeah, and you've offended the Doctor.
Sorry. Oh my God. An awful way to end the interview. I've offended
No,
the
no,
Doctor.
you've not really. But the Sonic screwdriver is a Sonic screwdriver.
It's not a glow stick.
Hell no.
Not to be confused with a glow stick.
No, on no account. It's it's the key to the universe.
Fabulous. Matt, it's been lovely to meet you. I'd say
Pleasure
you're
to
a
meet
10.
you, Minnie.
You're definitely a 10.
Well, you're too kind.